So we have this location. We have a couple other sub offices around the end, and then we have one in Washington. That's the primary. So. I do. So I have 86 agents directly on the application, and then I have support. I also designated listing for growing thinkers. Sweet.
Yeah, I've got one second.
Well, and this training we open up to outside agents also. So depending on the situation and advertise it. We do have a partnership with a couple title companies that will give you CE credit and it's related to education, and that tends to get more people to turn up.
Yeah.
So, and I think, for the state, you kind of want to keep people around compliance, and you want to make sure you've updated your profile and all that fun stuff. Just for compliance reasons, they want to keep you in there for CE credit. And absolutely. What time we got?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
1600. Yeah, it's like a cheap bag really, but it's not got deposit in it, so it's
Great. You got donuts.
Good, how are you? Pleasure's mine.
We'll give you a few minutes here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out and they got one of the kids is in there.
It's separate out to
So you gotta do it?
it was the old one inside the other one.
I had to buy
It's not the 4K, so,
Oh, what was your reason for that? Oh, because you had to make it work in here.
just, yeah, so we'll make it easier. Now you have to turn the theater on anymore.
I'm okay. Yeah.
So I won't get my
It should let you connect to it. And then when they take like I work for Solution Tip right here.
Just currently in here, so he needs to disconnect.
All right, now Good.
I mean, just track of that. It's a lot of
Good morning, everybody. Should we get started, please?
Still looking.
Grab your seat. What do they say? Good morning.
Top of the morning to you.
Everybody have a nice Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Good. Well,
Yeah,
welcome
gained
back.
about 5 pounds.
Ate about 5 pounds?
Yep.
Thank you for being here. Good to see everybody. Can't believe it's December. But we're going to get going in our meeting here. We want to welcome anyone who's visiting or who are guests today. Is there anyone who's here for the first time that's looking at, with our who's a new agent here? Anyone who, as an agent, has not been here before? I don't recognize anyone as such. So we do want to recognize a couple guests here. Patrick, it's always nice to see you here from Mayorspec. Welcome. Good to see you. Did you want to plug yourself or at all, or is that enough? That's enough. Patrick's being shy. Okay. Ryan over there, cross country down the hall. Say hi. We had a class today.
We got a class today. Travis Smith will be going over USDA loans. Get approved to buy houses.
And if you haven't registered, I'm not sure there's room. Because it's a pretty full class. So you'll just have to play it by ear if you haven't registered. Also want to recognize Kim. You want to take a quick second since you're providing the CE hour today for us? We get that out of the way and then.
So, let's see. Happy holidays, guys. Gosh, I can't even believe it's December already. Oh my gosh. So, anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and start passing this around. Another class that we're gonna be having coming up, is it filled yet, the ethics class on the 5th?
Probably.
Okay, so anybody
Yeah.
sign up for that, the ethics coming up? And then also I'm going to have a LARC class on December 12th, if anybody still needs their 3-hour LARC. It's gonna be over at the Bay Club, so, which used to be, what is it, Club Sport.
Yeah.
So, anyway, other than that, just thank you guys. I mean, so many of you are supporting me and my business and everything, and you know, I just love paying it back. And if there's anything I can do to help you with your ideas for next year, you know, just let me know. We can just make a appointment, and I'll come sit down with you guys. Mhm.
Was there an email about the LARC class?
Not yet. I'm going to be sending it out later today or tomorrow.
Code of
so.
Ethics is full.
Yeah, Code of Ethics is full. Okay,
Yep.
great.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Kim did a great job for me last week and for a marketing card and stuff, and she just puts all of her heart into it.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, she's good. You need her.
Thank you. Yeah, I love coming up with great, different ideas, unique ideas and stuff, and work around what you guys like to do. You know, if you don't
Well,
like
I'm
to
always
do.
willing to make these a
Yes.
CE hour, so thank you
Yes,
for your
that too,
meetings
yeah.
Yeah.
GE credit,
Yeah.
so thank you for
Yeah.
that.
And thank you for my education department, because they're the ones that have to, generate it and everything. So they've been really cooperative with me
Good.
on that. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
guys.
you. So that being
Mhm.
said, you had a clipboard right here?
Yes.
Make sure you're signed in so you can get credit for the
Yes.
class.
Yep.
Perfect. Also, I want to welcome Homes.com. Ray?
Yes.
So Homes.com reached out to you to come in and meet with More Realty. We just said, why don't you pop by our meeting? I think that's how that happened, right?
Yeah.
And so we're just going to give him a couple quick minutes because Homes.com has a partnership relationship with RMLS.
That's correct.
And do you need me to get off the screen here for a second? You want to get back on the TV?
Well, I was just gonna show him the dashboard. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. So we're going to give him a few minutes to go over this. We know it's impromptu and he's understanding and respectful of that. So we just, just take a few minutes if you don't mind. Yeah. Stop airplay. My airplay is off. And while he's doing that, if I may, Christmas party's coming up. This is the cash donation jar. This is one of the raffle items, and you can see it's getting full of cash. If you want to donate some cash into this, it's here. Drop the cash in. And we'll talk more about that in a second. So, you're ready?
Sure, thank you so much. Well, most importantly, I just want to thank Eric here for this impromptu idea. I was on vacation for Thanksgiving in Cincinnati, where my family's at. Shot him the email because I knew I was coming to Portland, and he said, "Yeah, we got a meeting, so come on in." So I met Eric at the recent trade show with the RMLS. Homes.com has a great partnership with the RMLS. Who can tell me who's been in the business the longest between Zillow, Realtor, Trulia, and Homes.com?
Homes.com.
Real.
Who said that? Who said that?
You wouldn't ask.
I wouldn't have asked otherwise,
So this book goes for $100 on Amazon. It's a bestseller. Just kidding. But seriously,
So seriously, it's been around the longest?
Homes.com. Who remembers the old Land and Home magazine?
Oh, yeah.
That's Homes.com.
Get your hand up quick.
We're out of Norfolk, Virginia. 25 years in the business, longer than Zillow and Realtor. More relationships nationwide with all the MLSs than Zillow and Realtor and Trulia. So these are facts a lot of people don't know. Obviously, we landed when the .com movement started in the early 90s. We got Homes.com, and we've leaned on that for a long time as our name. But if you've never been to our website or our app, you should use it. It's got some great features. In May of 2018, we did a total revamp to the website. We target it with a lot of artificial intelligence built in. We've got some features where you can take a snapshot of a house that somebody likes, and it'll show you other architectural designs in the geographic area that match that you can show them up for sale. All of your listings with the RMLS are already on Homes.com. So we do give you some ways to generate buyer leads from zip codes. The difference between our zip code product is we only let 3 full shares into a zip code, and when it's your lead, it's your lead. It's a round robin, so they're not just blasted out to everybody. We specialize in anything that we can do to position ourselves as partners in the industry for your success. So I'll just tell you right now, we will never change our model. We will never compete with you. Our entire vision is to support the growth of your business. I brought business cards too I can hand out. But what you're getting right there just talks about the ways you can get buyer leads if you like working with buyers from zip codes. If you prefer working with sellers, you can literally own an entire city on Homes.com. And it's an offensive ad strategy, meaning your listings will showcase in our top row position. And actually, Eric just set up about 3 or 4 cities with this, so I wanted to show you this real quick. And like I said, it's an offensive ad strategy. I got a guy in Fort Collins who's owned Fort Collins for 3 years. I have people coming and asking if they can have Fort Collins City sponsor, and I have to tell them I don't think Rob's ever going to let it go. But this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. When you get on our site, it's going to talk to you about the features of our website. We get 10 to 12 million on average in traffic monthly. So we have a unique audience. Real Trends. Anybody ever heard of Real Trends? All right. Let's hand her a book. Real Trends actually did a study with us, and the quality of Homes.com links ranked the highest, and 100% with phone numbers. So that's going to show you. If I go to Eric, what's the city you got? Do you remember?
Milwaukee.
MIL.
WAUK.
Okay.
Wisconsin? No, there, Oregon.
There we
Right.
go. So this is more realty shining, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Backfill ad. So we'll hit refresh. And I believe every city you picked up, you got the whole city, right?
So,
What's another one?
I think we ended up doing Lake Oswego.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who had that and let it go. And I said, okay, it's going to be
There we
going
go.
pretty quick. So as you can see, I'm meeting with Eric afterwards because this should be showcasing your listings here. But basically, it'll showcase up to 6 of your listings in a scrolling fashion. And it'll click directly to your website. So just a quick finale here, just to tell you, Homes.com, we specialize in setting up your websites. This is the other example I mentioned that showcases the listings here. Something you should know is that Eric made a decision for the office to set up what's called. He's covered all your listings. So your listings get viewed as enhanced on our website already. And other people who have bought into the zip codes your listings are in cannot show up as a contact on your listings. And something else that Homes.com prides themselves in is the philosophy of your listings, your leads. So even if you don't have preferred, you would still get all the leads on your listings.
So that, you're saying that's what Eric set up for our office? So if Marv has a lead in there, he'll get the lead? That's what's set up for our office?
Yes.
I just want to emphasize what's been set up.
So now there's a caveat. Marv has to go set up his profile in order to get notified because they don't have your email address. So if you don't go claim your profile, the lead's going to come to the office. So just keep that in mind.
So claim your profile and they're your lead.
Yes.
So did
That's
we
simple.
hand out, let's give everybody a pen. If you could pass around the pens and the chapsticks, and if you got something to write with, I'm going to give you the website or the link you want to type in to set up your profile. And it is super easy.
.com.
Supereasy.com. There you go.
Is it really super easy?
No.
The process is at least. So profile.homes.com, very simple. Profile.homes.com. And then if you also write down this phone number, if you have any questions during the process, you can always call me directly, and I'm gonna make sure my cards get passed out too. Or you can call our customer service line that's always open in your time zone. 866 is the phone number, 774-2947.
I imagine we'll send out an email later.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll send you more details and his contact info afterwards.
Yep.
So how many of you guys know RMLS just moved?
Yeah.
Yay! They're right down the street from us. So just one of those things. I got a question from another agent earlier about how to get help on some smartphone apps, things like that. RMLS is very close by, but that's part of the reason why we have a partnership with Homes.com is they've entered into an agreement so that they get all of our listing data. And so it's just one of those things that we want to take advantage of it. They are starting to hit the Portland market pretty hard as far as showing up on search results, all of that stuff. So they're I hate to compare them to Zillow and Trulia because they are different as far as they have a commitment to giving the listing agent the lead. So if anybody inquires on a property, if you claim your profile as the listing agent, you will get the lead without paying for it. But if you don't claim your profile, you don't get the lead.
Exactly.
So that's the most important part to take away from this meeting.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and let me know how I can help you if you need any help whatsoever. We'll get an email out with the link and the phone number like they said. I'm just in Eric's dashboard just to show you what that looks like. But we have a full CRM. Once you get in here, you can set up email drip campaigns. There's a lot you can do with our free profile and CRM. Take advantage of what Homes.com wants to partner with you guys to build your business. We also do social media for real estate if you want help with that. We do a lot of things to help you build your business. So I appreciate your time, and yeah, we'll go ahead and move on. And I'll be hanging out afterwards. Eric and I are meeting anyway, so if anybody wants to talk to me one-on-one, be happy to do so.
thank you.
you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. That's awesome. So, yeah, great little add-on, right? It's been available, but RMLS doesn't always promote their secrets really well. So, I have another book to give away. You have to raise your hand. What's the best real estate company in the world?
More Realty.
You all lose. You didn't just raise your hand. Okay, there you go. Points for you. Well, people have been around know we try to keep our eyes on technology, and thank you for kind of. Was there a reason? How did this spark? Someone asked
So I've
questions.
been at the RMLS booth.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
they're kind of following up there.
Gotcha. Well, thanks.
And they also partner with Op City, so they're part of the reason why we got more Op City leads.
That was the other connection.
That's the
right?
main reason, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I did want to add that we also do a program called Lead Concierge. We will work unlimited leads within 60-second response time, and we work everybody's leads, Zillow's, Realtors, social media, website, all that's reasonably priced at $99.95 a month. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned
How much
that
per
as
month?
well. Pardon me?
How much per month?
$99.95?
$99.95.
Yeah.
$100 a month.
Save the nickel.
That's great.
From 100.
Yeah, because you guys need to be free to do what you do, meeting with people, showing properties. And we qualify them too, so we're gonna ask qualifying questions. The only ones you work are the ones that make the qualifying questions.
So think about what you just said. We've always said when you hear about the TC department, when's the last time you saw a doctor answer his own phone? How does a doctor make their money? Licensed activity. What's the doctor's licensed activity? Door to door to door, seeing patients. It makes zero money answering the phone. Zero money doing files. Zero money sending invoices. The only time a doctor earns money is licensed activity. You're no different, right? So you can use, there's several things. There's a TC department, there's concierge services, there's things like that. It's worth investing. We try to make ourselves a very affordable plan so that you can reinvest in yourself and go do those things. But what happens half the time, at least half the time, is realtors are too cheap. You have to invest in yourself. You know how much it costs to get a license to be a lawyer or a doctor?
Oh my gosh.
$100,000, $250,000. How much it cost you to get your license?
Not much.
Too little, right? A couple $1,000 by the time you're done in 100 hours. Big deal, right? But the biggest mistake I see, not to get on my soapbox, I see realtors make is they don't invest in themselves, even to the tune of $100 per month or 300 a transaction or whatever it is. It's kind of crazy, right? I need more deals, but I don't want to pay for it. We literally rolled out a lead program not that long ago where we have leads. This is like a year and a half ago. And I literally had some people respond and say, well, I only know how to work with qualified buyers in Hillsborough who are ready to write an offer. Okay, what do we need you for? If they're that qualified, right? But so you kind of need to open the doors a little bit and investing in yourself, in my opinion. It's not, we try to allow you to do that, right? That's what our comp plan allows you to do, is go reinvest in yourself. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
You're not giving us 30%. If you'd like to, we'll take it. Anyone volunteering? Want to give us 30%? No volunteers? That's disappointing. Okay. Anyway, we just want to make sure that you hear some of the messages going on here through TC department, and that you can allow freeze every time you go to license activity, which makes you money. In this case, what's license activity? Opening doors, writing offers, presentations, talking to the next client, all that's income generating activity. Okay? All right. Moving on, just really quick, on the calendar, just a reminder, there's this meeting does not exist next week. And why? Party. Okay. We have about 160-ish signed up to attend the party.
Wow.
We have had the question, can family come? We would love nothing more than have a family event. It's just difficult with some of the constraints of the facility and things like that. But if you imagine we open up to all family and friends, we'd be at 300 really quickly, and that becomes a little unmanageable. So our apologies for that, but for the moment, we're going to have to leave it more realty staff and agents, and we'll kind of evaluate as time goes on. But boy, what 150. That's really good. So that's what's happening next week. If anyone plans on bringing, it's a potluck style, if you can and are willing to bring food, please follow the link and let us know. Right now, we don't have enough, I'll just tell you. But sometimes and that's because I think people are planning on bringing stuff and just aren't telling us. Because that happens every year. So if you're planning on bringing something, tell us what you are going to bring so that we can kind of budget out what we've got. But it'd be nice to have some more people respond to that. Anything else on the party, Denise?
I just wanted to say, whatever we have left over, this is going to find a place for us to donate.
Yeah, there's various homeless places that will take the food.
Is there a list that we can see what people are already bringing so we don't all bring, no? Okay.
That's too hard to do that. But if you just check what you're going to bring, we can manage it. If we have too much of one thing, we'll just take it off the list. That's
I
available.
didn't see that there was an option for sides.
It says appetizer/sides. I updated that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are appetizers, sides, kind of the same thing. So it says appetizer side. Doesn't need to be elaborate. Casserole, nothing. It's just a time for us to get together and sort of celebrate the season and just kind of relax for a minute and enjoy the time.
Okay.
Anything else? I'm sorry, I started talking. Okay.
When we first got the place, we didn't have as many people as we did, so I was really worried about putting everyone there. So-
Yeah, we can seat about 240.
Yeah.
Is what we can seat. So you can imagine if we open it up.
Seating and tables,
Yeah.
but if we didn't have any tables and you just had an eat on your laps, we could open it up to 420 people.
Yeah.
And they have where you can plug something in.
Yeah, there's a lot of plugs everywhere. There's tables set up for the food to go on, and if something needs to be plugged in, you might bring it as warm as you can, and there's various plugs throughout the place. Yeah. Just for perspective, our first 3 of the 5 were done here. And it was pretty crowded the last time we did it. The last time we went to a place where we could only fit about 100, and we realized there's no way we're going to be able to fit there anymore. So we found the Short Art Center. It's not that hard to get to. But it will, in January, we're going to have another company-wide meeting. And we'll meet there again because when they pull their bleachers out, it's not, when I say bleachers, it's not the bleachers you think. It's you pull it out and there's actually theater seating with the chairs. And we can fit about 400 at that time. So we're going to try and promote that a little bit more too. So anyway, okay. Anything else? Very, unless you have anything over there?
We have the technical certification coming up.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I meant to have this on while I was talking about the party, sorry. But one of the things that's going on there is a silent auction, just so you know, for More Gives Foundation, which supports a couple of scholarships and other charitable, other nonprofit things and helps those in need. That's what More Gives is set up for. So there's a silent auction there. You buy a raffle, not an auction, I'm sorry, it's a raffle. You buy raffle tickets and put them in, and we have a drawing at about 12:30. We'll do the drawing for the prizes. One of the prizes is this jar of money. This jar of money is funded by people putting money in the jar. So if you want to throw a couple bucks in or a couple hundred in, just before you leave, this is like the last time you'll be able to see it. So if you want to donate to the Jar O Cash, then please do that today. Anything else before we move on? Because I think, what time is it now? Yep, okay. I don't know if you've been seeing the emails or not, but we're already announcing some of the forms changes. As you read through it, it's a little convoluted, and the way they've kind of got it set up, all you can do is they have old and new and yellow and green, and that it looks like it's a lot of colors. I mean, as you scroll through it, you can read through that if you want, but we will be having the new forms, or the forms update class. As soon as they roll it out, we'll have 2 or 3 or 4 sessions, whatever I need to make sure everybody gets it. So we'll be going over it then. So don't be panicked that you got to learn it now. It's not applicable. And I'm sure there's things we wish they would have done, they didn't, and vice versa.
So but next week, the listing load forms change. It goes from 4 pages to 7. Right. So just know that if you're doing it the right way, it'll generate the correct form starting on the 10th of December.
Thank you.
Right now it's 4 pages for listing load, right? It's going to go to 7. So makes it, they didn't change too much, they just made it easier to fill out. So
Kind of like the signature page is 1 page long. Ever notice that, a listing agreement? 1 page listing signing page? Okay.
contract. So that's, the contract will change next year, but they did, input form will change.
So data input forms do change, you get
So
some.
then instead of using zip forms for your paperwork, you'd want to print the contract out of the RMLS to have the current paperwork, because we don't know what zip forms.
We don't know the relation between ORF and zip forms. The safest thing to do is go to RMLS for your listing agreements. Matter of fact, if you were getting your listing agreement out of zip forms, you were doing it backwards because you have to do the work twice. So you should never start a listing in zip forms. Hopefully you know that. We've talked about it. And if you are, just pretend like you don't have to embarrass yourself by saying, oh darn, I But if you start a listing in RMLS, it will print you the correct and current contract by doing the data entry. If you go into zip forms to try and do that, you may not have the right form as of the 10th, but also guess what you still have to do? Come back to the RMLS and do the data entry. So why? Oh, you'll $5 to the charge.
$5.
Okay.
No, I'm teasing. So, anything else before I go off to writing offers? Did I hear yes? I did not? Okay. Oh, decision. Let me try this. So this has been an interesting exercise the last few weeks. We've been going over, am I on the screen here? Okay. We've been going over the, listing, we're writing an offer. And so far we've made it, in about 6 weeks, we made it through 4 pages. Which I don't think is bad to do, right? We're learning. And that's, we're all about learning and teaching and making sure you know the job. So whatever time it takes to get to wherever we want to today, that'll be fine. But last week we ended on the professional inspections. Were there any questions on that before I just move on to the next topic? Professional inspections. Hopefully you all understand that. And if you don't understand it, or you have questions, or you just think you understand it but aren't sure, always ask. Okay? So moving on to, well, I guess regarding home inspection, you can do the alternative procedures as we talked about, but they can also waive it. Is that recommended?
Nope.
No. This is not recommended at all. What if you have someone who's adamant they want to waive their inspection? What do you do? Speak up, I can't hear you, or raise your hand. Patrick?
Have them sign a release?
It's a release, but it's also well, I can't remember what it's called here. So under More HQ, Docs, Links, and Info, we have provided a home inspection waiver addendum. Right here, home inspection waiver addendum. And you can download it here by hitting download. But basically it says, I'll just download it so you can see it.
It says this is a terrible idea, are you sure?
Basically, yeah. Yeah. I don't use those exact words. Are you crazy is actually what I'm saying. So basically it says, residents are not qualified to inspect physical properties, etc. Professional inspectors give general overview, etc., etc. We highly recommend you have this. After reading above statement outlining the importance of professional home inspection, buyer hereby agrees to waives home inspection and property reference above. Buyer acknowledges the purchase contractor more reasons you recommend and encourage you to have one. Basically, you're saying, are you crazy?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what you do. So if someone chooses to waive it, you want to get that signed. Because you want to come across like you've talked them out of the home inspection at all. Because guess what will happen? If they get in the home and gosh, I wish I would have had an inspection because there's dry rot or water in the house or whatever. Toilets don't flush. Why didn't you tell me? Well, I did. We talked about it. No, you didn't. Did you get our GL3 card? Home inspection waiver. So it's pretty rare someone wants that, but you should always do that. Yeah.
I'm curious, what if they opt for an inspection but not like a sewer scope or radon test? Would you go that far if they go with, say, just the inspection but not the ancillary?
We haven't, but interesting thought.
Yeah.
Isn't all that on the form though, that you're checking off what they wanna do?
If you use a professional inspection addendum, yeah, they can check if they want them or don't want them. Here, Patrick, kind of the broad brushstroke answer to that is, where does that stop?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can get really crazy with
Mold and lead and asbestos.
whatever. That's just the inspection. What about this? What about that? What about you didn't tell me. But there's some get out of jail free cards in the clause in the agreements too. So at this point, it's really if they just waive their home inspection, we could have a checkbox. We could update that says professional home inspection, mold, radon, or in the sewer. But again, where does that list stop? You can over-rotate on this, right? So
Yeah.
I'll take it under advisement. Marv, you were saying something?
I always recommend that they talk to the inspector about what the inspector recommends. So I never, presume that they want certain things or don't want certain things. I say there's a lot of different inspections, and I let them talk to the inspector, because I had one person moving up to California, they wanted everything in the book until they saw the price. And they were like, oh, okay, it's going to $1,200. Oh, no, I'll do the basic $400.
But when you write the offer, it's best to either use alternative inspection addendum and check everything so that you reserve the right to have it. Or if you want to write it out here, you can do that too. But so that you have that right, so that then they at least have the option of paying $2,000 for everything.
Well, then they can see what options they have for the inspections as well.
Yeah.
That's the alternative.
Yep. So if they're going to waive the inspection contingency, that's when you're going to want to do the other one. Now, what you have to do is remember, when you waive the inspection contingency, you can't use that clause to get out. Can you always try to renegotiate anything?
Yeah.
You always can. And on the other side, they can say, well, we're outside the inspection contingencies. Well, I'm still asking. Well, no, you can't ask. Yes, you can. You can ask for anything, anytime you want. Don't be kidded by that. You just can't use that clause as you're out. Make sense? That's the difference. But you can always ask for anything you want. Hey, we drove down the neighborhood and we saw this in the front yard. We want to have this done. Well, no, you're outside the inspection contingency. You can't ask. Yes, I can. Just tell me what you want to do about my request. Now, do they have to agree to it? Never have to. Could it be a material change that you are aware of and have an impact on the transaction? Could be. You just may not fall underneath the inspection contingency. A lot of people give. I won't get on my tangent here. Lead-based paint contingency period. Okay, so true or false? A home built in 1978 falls under the must have a lead. It falls under lead-based paint contingency.
True.
Okay, who says true? Built in 78. Who says true? Oh, come on. Is it 77?
77.
Because the addendum actually says built prior to 78, not built in 78. So it's kind of a reminder, because you get this from time to time. Well, the home was built in 78. Where's lead-based paint? Well, have you read it? Well, no, it's built in 78. Yeah, but it says prior to 78. Oh, and then the email stopped. Right? So, but for your edification and for your information, homes built prior to 78, lead-based paint contingency and addendum applies. Okay? Anything you want to say about lead-based paint? Is there a canned phrase you say about
If
it?
it's built before 78, it's got lead paint somewhere.
It's got somewhere, right? And maybe even in 78, because I had a gallon of paint laying around, right? But the federal law says prior to 78. So lead-based, true or false, lead-based paint is a problem. If this had lead-based paint as it sits, I'm in danger of sitting next to it. True or false?
False.
False. That's not dangerous. What's that?
Are you eating the patients?
Okay, so good. So if I start sanding it without a mask, okay, if I eat the dust or the paint chips, that becomes a problem, right?
Right.
Okay,
That's what
but
happens.
lead-based paint is dormant until it's disturbed. Same with asbestos. The problem with asbestos, you don't always know where it is. And it can be in a fibrous way. It can be in insulation. There's not lead in insulation. Lead has been known to be in paint.
Right.
Asbestos is lots of places, right? Fluorine, glue, adhesives, insulation, vermiculite. Asbestos can be a lot. Siding, it can be anywhere, right? Have a home. As you know, I have a home that I'm kind of considering remodel, or we're considering a remodel on. Talking to the contractor, he says we just come in when we do any demo and assume. So we just abate everything. We don't even test. We just, because depending on the year, we just abate it. We do that. You know, ever seen a home that has that? It's a little bit like ET, right? Where they have this, they build a tunnel, the back of the truck, out of plastic, into the home, and they create plastic all around everything, and they spray everything down, cut up the flooring or whatever is applicable, haul it out and wrap it, tape it, haul it out in chunks after they sprayed it, put it in the truck that's all enclosed. Oh, and that's, by the way, they have a negative air environment where there's no air can escape, so you got a fan sucking it somewhere into a filter. It's quite the ordeal. So contractors anymore, if it's built before 78, they'll just assume it's all there.
What do they do with all that stuff that they abate?
They take it to a special disposal place. Actually, what they take the dump and just throw it out the back of the truck.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Actually, I don't know. I mean, there's a special place they take known lead and asbestos. And I don't know where it is. It's
They're
just,
required to dispose of it. The dump will turn them away
Yeah.
Right.
unless
okay.
they have a certification saying
Right.
it doesn't have asbestos.
Yeah,
And if it does, they throw it away to a special place.
there's a special place to go to.
You must burn it or something.
Area 51. So, lead-based paint. So, when you write an offer, how many days does this contingency last? It's right in front of you. 10 days. 10 calendar days.
Right.
Is that different than
Yeah.
business days?
Yeah.
Way different, because it's literally 10, start counting to tomorrow, or other mutually agreed upon period, so you can actually agree upon it. But is there a place to say 10 if left blank? It doesn't say that. If you want to adjust the lead-based paint contingency period, you have to put in additional provisions or an addendum or something else. There's no 10 if left blank part here. Excuse me. So, what if you don't deliver that lead-based paint addendum?
Oh.
The 10 day starts when you deliver it. What if you never deliver it? Hasn't started, right?
Right.
So Denise and I have helped more than one person out with this over the years. I had one at John L. Scott, and then we had a couple here at More Realty. It turns out it's funny, it was the same agent on the other side of this transaction. Didn't learn when I dealt with it at John L. Scott. Where we got to closing, and I got a call from the agent I was managing at the time and said, they want a sale fill, but they want their money back. We closed today. Okay, well, all right, let's go through the paperwork. Did you get this? Okay, did you get that? Did you get this? Did you get lead-based paint? No. Oh, okay, are you sure? Go look. No, I called back, I don't have it anywhere. Okay, terminate based upon lead-based paint. Okay, send an addendum, we terminate here under the terms of the lead-based paint contingency, which was never provided to us. And went off to the, and so what did they do on the other side of this? You can't do that. Day of closing. Lead-based paint, you can't terminate based upon that. I said, well, actually we can. You might want to read through the paperwork because you never delivered it, so that contingency never has begun.
What about the current day where these disclosures are in RMLS and we go in and click on it and we've seen it?
So here's my take on this, and on if you put it in the RMLS, you cannot record the delivery. What's the most, remember how we talked about in the past, make it clear? What's the clearest way? Is it clear to put it in the RMLS and assume they download it, assume you wrote an offer, and assume, okay, so how do you log day one?
Right.
You can't. What's the clearest way? Email it. I delivered it today.
Because you
Today's
have
day
proof
one.
that you delivered it.
Yeah, there's no proof that I saw it on
RMLS did
RMLS.
fix it and added proof.
Huh?
So RMLS did fix it.
I know.
And add proof, so just
Yeah.
heads up. But that means you have to go in and verify. You might as well just email
Right.
it off.
But it's not clear, right? I can't, it's harder, it's not clear,
Okay.
right? Just email it, deliver it. Don't assume, what if they never go look at it? Okay, it's there, I'm just never gonna open it. Cause I'm gonna preserve these, and they can't come back and say, well, it's in the RMLS. I can come back and say, well, I never looked at it, go look, check it out, I never looked. Well, why didn't you? So what's the easiest way to be really clear? Send it. So you deliver these things, they don't send it back. Well, we don't wanna agree to receiving this. Well, that's a tough argument, Your Honor. They sent me an email back the same day saying they didn't receive it. They did receive it, just
the
because they
same
didn't
email that you sent
sign.
them?
When you sign lead-based paint or property disclosures, what are you agreeing to? Zero. All you're doing is saying, acknowledge I've received it. That's all you're doing. It's an acknowledgement. Can an email serve as an acknowledgement? Can. Could be argued. They didn't sign. Well, we didn't sign it. Yeah, but the email says right here, you refused to sign it, so that means you saw it, so you got it. Your Honor. And they're gonna go like, seriously, you saw it, right? And just because you refuse to sign or do sign doesn't, it becomes a gray area if someone refuses to sign it. So the best thing to do is don't depend on the RMLS tracking, just deliver it. And say, here you go, please acknowledge you've received these. And if they don't acknowledge it, give them a call. Hey, I sent you an email, could you reply? So, because guess what, that will start day one. And if you, so back to that other one on where I told you about lead-based paint, that one agent, they stomped their fist and said, you can't do this. And we said, well, okay. Can you show where you've delivered it? Because we get 10 days as soon as it's delivered. And we've never had a chance to assess or know what you knew. That's why it's there. So we're terminating. Day of closing, we never got the lead-based paint info. We're terminating. That's all we said. And they had to return the money. And I'm sure the agent at the back end had to cough up $2,000. I can't verify that, but I'm sure that's what happened. Well, what's funny is 2 years later, we finally opened more realty. It happened again. Same agent on the other side had delivered lead-based paint. And I'm going, you gotta be kidding me. And I went back and looked, yep, same agent, didn't learn their lesson. And terminated a transaction again because they didn't deliver it. So anyways, these things matter, right? These time frames matter, so deliver it. Lead-based paint, buyer.
Real quick, do buyer's agents ever fill that out? They don't have it in the listing? I see this happen all the time.
I do too. Do you as a buyer's agent fill out lead-based paint if it's not in the listing? Can a buyer fill it out? Buyer can't.
How's the buyer gonna fill it out when they don't know?
Buyer can't. But it does say on here, on a couple of these, it says see attached. And sometimes a buyer will fill out their own and attach them. And those are really, seller needs to send that back. That's where you're going with that, right? The only one who should fill out the lead-based paint is the seller, not the buyer side, because that does happen. Buyer understands that this failure to deliver the notice of cancellation to seller together with reports on or before midnight of the last day of lead-based paint contingency period shall constitute acceptance of the condition of the property as relates to the presence of lead-based paint. So they've added some verbiage in here that kind of makes what happened for me and us a couple of years ago a little bit different. It says, they say, with reports. So theoretically, to use this contingency, you're supposed to have received the addendum and do a test to be able to use this contingency to get out. It doesn't say failed reports or lead-based presence of lead-based paint. It just says with reports. It doesn't say that it has to have lead for you to be able to use this to terminate. It could have no lead. They don't clarify that. That's not clear. It doesn't say on here, if it has lead, you can use its contingency to get out. It doesn't say that. But they added with reports, and the way they describe it from the agency is, or from the ORF attorneys over time, is people weren't doing that, and were doing just what I did with other people. They would never get the report and terminate. will have that right. So they're trying to close that loophole by adding with report. So if you get the report, if you get the addendum, you know, you want it within that 10-day period, you want to use that addendum to terminate a transaction. You have to run to Home Depot, I guess it is, grab a quick test thing and provide a copy of the report back. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Not very common, but as a listing agent, deliver it fast. Anything else? What do you guys think? Okay, I'm not going to go over the addendum today, but private well. Pretty simple. Does a property include a well that supplies or intends to supply water to the household use? It's a simple yes or no. A lot of people have a well for garden use, and it's hooked to city water. What's the difference?
They're not using it for the home.
Intended supply domestic water for household use. Okay? If that property is on a well that provides water for the house, you need to do what? Check yes, and select and attach. It says, well, property case right well, the ORF 82 private well addendum will be attached to the sales agreement. If you go to the ORF 82 form, it's really your request for information and who's going to do what testing. That's all it is. I thought I saw you. Yeah, Mark.
Community wells, five homes on one well.
Yeah. Oh gosh, what was the answer on that?
Just bringing it up.
No, it's a good question because you see that, you know what a community well is?
Yeah.
It's just a central well that provides water to 5 properties.
Right.
Well, is it a well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my recollection is, yes, provide Form 82, and because when you go to Form 82, it asks for the well reports, the well logs, the information you have about the well. And it might be provided by someone else besides the seller. There's usually a well master, if you will, that's sort of over that well. Little trivia capsule. I'm a witch, well witch. Little trivia capsule. I can hold the iron rods and walk over water and they go, I never knew I could do that. And I knew other people, they'd stand over a toilet and it wouldn't work. And then I stand over a toilet and go, trivia capsule. Did I hear another voice?
Are you hearing voices?
Yeah. Septic. Okay, we could go on about septic for quite a while, but if it has, so what is a septic system? On-site, what is the on-site slash, yeah.
It's a tank in the ground where all of the drains go into. Sinks, toilets.
Everything goes into, does that mean it's hooked to city water or city sewer? Almost anything, unless it's hooked to city sewer, you're going to check yes. And provide ORF 081.
I've actually listed houses where there's a septic in the back and a city sewer in the front.
Which one are they hooked to?
They're hooked to, I think they were both hooked.
That would be really weird and very unusual.
I have that.
But they did a test and it went to the sewer, but it was also.
So the presence of a septic system in the yard, that's not what we're talking about here. What are they hooked to, right?
Yeah.
And if they don't know, they need to find out. And you should find out before you make the home live, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of want to rewind, but bundle well and septic in there.
Yep.
Can you clarify for me? I thought for well water, oftentimes the buyer pays to have it inspected, but doesn't the seller actually have to pay to prove the water quality?
There's responsibilities on both parties. The seller has to provide the buyer, but there's additional testing that can be requested, and you can say buyer or seller to pay for.
Okay, and then is there sort of a similar setup for septic where
Yes.
I've heard buyer pays to have it inspected, but the seller pays to pump it?
Actually, on all of that, it's not.
It's all negotiable.
That's all
That's not
negotiable.
by default. That's just kind of a general people.
My mind is default. I want the seller. You know, that's in my mind it is, and that's what I'm always going to ask.
You put it
But they
in,
could say
you
no,
take it
is what
out.
you're saying.
Well, for example, the one you inspected for us over there. By the way, we finally had them out there, uncovered. It's 4 feet deep, and the opening is this big. And you look in, and there's roots everywhere. That's not good for a septic tank, right? That creates its own filter, right? Could create a problem. So, and no one knows where the drain field is, right? So the system's technically failed, right? The way I wrote the addendum, or the way I wrote the offer was that seller to have septic tank pumped and system inspected and and replaced as recommended by a licensed contractor. Well, in this case, it's $20,000 replacement, because it's gotta be relocated and pumped, right? Well, they countered and said, we're not gonna agree to replace it just yet. So they unwound, they kinda dialed back from what I asked for and said, we'll have it pumped and assessed. Okay,
20,000.
yeah. And then found out, to move it, you gotta move it to the side of the house instead of the front and pump it to the back of the property. That's 20,000. Because you gotta have electrical, replumb all the plumbing into the house to go a different direction. It starts adding up. So you have to be careful with septic. If you're on septic, if they don't know what they're hooked to, they need to find out. And some homes have a septic, and some are in the backyard, but they're not using it, they're dormant. They just stopped using it.
I think you should also plug that you should still have a sewer scope done on a septic tank. A lot of people assume you shouldn't.
Yeah, if you send out a septic inspector, they have a scope and they have probes and things that can try and find out where the line's at. They can go so far. This one, no, I mean, it was a homeowner install back in the 70s. They'd never pumped it. Yeah, there's plenty of solids in there, yes. So anything else on septic? You want to make sure, so when you're writing an offer, which is kind of the theme of this whole thing, is I always ask for everything in our favor and let them counter, because they might be okay with it, right? Seller to have septic pumped, septic tank pumped, system inspected in its entirety, and repair or replace as recommended by the septic contractor. That's everything, right? That system is now going to be working before we move forward. And if the contractor recommends it be replaced, that means you're going to pay for it to be replaced. That's what that means. But a lot of times you're going to dial back and maybe go, wait, let's don't quite agree to replacement yet, because let's assess it first. Okay, that's just a counter. Okay, several hands. Simon, then going this way. Yeah.
Is there a difference between a septic and a cesspool?
Cesspool is different. A septic system is a tank, usually a concrete tank with a pipe that comes out of it to a distribution box, and that distributes out to 3 lines that are 10 feet apart. That you need about 100 feet per bedroom. So think about that, right? If you have a really small lot in a septic, like in Lake Oswego, I don't even have an accurate system because I don't have that much room. Cesspool is something different. You go out to kind of this cylinder. From what I understand, I could Google it if you want, but it's a cylindrical tank, hole, usually lined with brick or some sort of concrete that has perforations in it, that it goes in there and sort of perforations and leaches out the sides of the tank. That's basically a cesspool. And then it's got a cover on it. So it's not like a pool, right? But the cesspool is just a different kind of.
So do you pump the cesspool?
Yes, you can pump a cesspool too. Matter of fact, a cesspool, if they say we're hooked to, do they have an on-site, that would be called an on-site sewage system. It's not a septic. My situation is going to be the same. Whether it's cesspool or septic, my request as a buyer side is going to be the same. Seller to have septic system pumped and inspected and replaced or repaired as recommended by a licensed contractor. So that way you show up as a cesspool, my requests are the same. Here's the deal though, cesspools are no longer, they haven't been standard around here for a long time. But you'll find a lot of homes in Portland, they haven't hooked up front yet, but they have a cesspool in back because that's what they did back then, right? You'll see that. But if those lots don't allow for a septic system, there's no room for a tank plus 300 feet of line.
Right.
And it has to be at least 10 feet away from the home and 10 feet away from the property lines. That's, so it's really difficult to fit that. So my response, the repair on that would be to connect to the front, connect to the available sewer.
I have a deal going on. The seller has to connect to the city sewer, costs $31,000.
Yep, expensive, very expensive. So again, buyer and listing agent, beware what you're dealing with. Have enough information about septic so you can guide people. Because as a buyer's agent, you'd really want to know that ahead of time, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you really want the seller to take care of it. Because guess what? If this buyer walks away, guess what's going to happen?
They got this.
The next buyer is going to they got to disclose it, and the next buyer is going to want the same thing.
Right.
So a seller's probably going to have to deal with it, right? And that's kind of the people I'm talking to right now on my other one. They're meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. because I asked for a $100,000 price reduction. based upon everything. 100,000. And because you got 20 grand here, 50 grand here, or whatever, and your price too high anyway, here's the comps. So I'm literally coming down to 100 grand. And if it doesn't work out with who, what do they have to do with the next party? Replace the septic, you know, it's all, oh, there's underground oil tank under the driveway. I mean, you see what I mean? 100 grand, I mean, it's just not worth it. Anyway, so there's hand back there, and I saw just.
Yeah, similar to what you just mentioned. I know one house was having failed septic tank and required to connect to city sewer.
Yeah.
And that is $70,000.
They really gouge you. And if you're within 300 feet of a city line, they require it to convert over. I see hands up, just a second. Hang on, there's like 9 hands up here. I think you had your hand up here.
I was just curious what part of Portland you find it not that.
So in the oh gosh, what's the area? Is it the Lentz area? Park Rows. I mean, there's pockets all over. It's usually the one-ish level homes, kind of in the really narrow. I don't know how to describe it. Kind of those old areas. It's very uncommon. You'll see a cesspool. Very uncommon. And the county may require you to update it. And like in Washington County, if you're within 300 feet of a city line, they require you to connect to it.
Would the seller definitely know?
What's that?
Would the seller know that they weren't hooked up to the city?
They should.
Okay.
You say, okay, do you have or what kind of, so when you go through the listing, are you hooked up to city sewer? Do you get a bill from the city for your sewer? Sure. Okay, you're hooked up to city sewer. Is there a septic tank on the property you wherever? I don't know. Okay. Don't know, you don't know, right? But they should know if they're getting a bill for their sewer. Okay, hold on, Marv. I got everybody with your question. Please raise your hand all at once right now. Okay, so I knew here. Okay, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I was just gonna piggyback onto that. I was a city councilman in Michigan, and if you were in the city limits and your septic failed, we would require you. We didn't give you an opportunity to go ahead and put a septic back in. So, you know, you want to check that local government that you're selling that house in there, because that again is going to be substantially more, as we've already said, than it is to go back with a septic system.
Yep.
But a city, in our case, would not let you do that if your septic failed.
And it's impossible to predict how much it is to do that. You got 35, 71. It depends how far away you are and what's in the way of this. Is it another yard? You got to go underground? You got to, I mean, it could be really expensive. That's the highest I've heard, 70,000. So I think a seller should know that and a buyer should know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the other thing, a little caveat too. If you were on septic, and most counties do this in Oregon now, used to be only Washington County, most of the counties now in Oregon, if you're on septic, before they will issue any permits for any work, your septic system has to meet current standards. And you think about the homes in Lake Oswego and other places that are on these lots, okay, 3-bedroom home, what's the standard? Tank 10 feet away from the property, 10 feet away from the foundation, and 100 feet of drain lines per bedroom, all has to be 10 feet away from the property line. Can you fit that on a 6,000 square foot lot?
No.
It takes a half acre to do that. Almost a half acre to do that lot. And the other options, if you can't do that, then it's, what are the alternatives? Okay, it's called a sand filtration. It's about a 20 by 30 foot sand thing with plants and stuff that it pumps from your septic tank into that, and it filters down through you're filtering that, and that's like 20 or 30,000 bucks. So you just agent beware. You're on septic. There could be some nuances, and I always ask my clients who are buying on septic, are you ever going to do remodeling here? Yeah, well, okay, you need to be aware and do your research ahead of time. Let's write in there time to do research, because you might find out you can't actually do this remodel because the restrictions, because they will not issue a permit until they get a certificate from downstairs at the septic department that says this meets current standards. They will hold on to your permits. You can't. There it is. And kind of like him, they require you, right? Anyway, so more do you want to know about septic? Probably. Here we are again on page. Oh, was another question, Mark? You get it? Well, tell it. Yeah.
You also can be hooked up to the city sewer and have a cesspool that's in the backyard, where the people who have it, the seller had no idea it was even there.
That could happen, yeah.
And they fail and you get a sinkhole.
Yeah.
So.
Remember what a cesspool is? It's a tank of
Crap.
that over time leaches. You get rain on top of that. Is there ever? I mean, yeah, they can cave in, right? I'm not going to Google it because I don't want to see it.
Would the inspectors see if there was?
No.
Inspectors don't probe unless they know to probe. Yeah.
So
You just ask, do you have a cesspool or a septic system here? I would just ask it. Well, unless it's new construction, it's obvious. But if there's any chance, based upon the age or the size of the lot, are you aware of any on-site sewage systems here? Just ask. No? Okay.
You can also get a tank located.
What's that?
You can also get a tank located. They can tell by the shape.
Yeah,
what it is.
if there's triggers that make you need to look for that, it doesn't happen a lot. But again, are you hooked? You get a bill from the city for your sewer. Yeah, okay. It's pretty clear where their stuff's going. Down the drain. Okay. Property disclosure law. Buyer or seller acknowledges that unless the transaction is otherwise exempted, Oregon law provides that buyer has a right to revoke buyer's offer by giving seller written notice within 5 business days of seller's delivery of property disclosure statement. Or at any time before closing, as defined in Oregon administrative rules, if buyer does not receive a statement from seller before closing. Okay, so what did we just say there? What's that?
The back out clause.
It's in the backup clause. So that also means as a listing agent, what should you do as soon as you get an offer?
Give
them all the disclosures. Lead-based paint, disclosures, because those triggers don't occur until, those timing triggers don't occur until delivery. And you can't rely upon putting them in armless as it ever being delivered. So, if I never receive those, can I terminate? When? Right up here. It says right here, up to closing. I can terminate. Right? It's pretty important. It's 5 days. So when you're a buyer and you receive all these disclosures, and your inspection period starting, your disclosures, your lead-based paint, and whatever else are beginning, right then, that's a pretty critical window as a buyer, right? The first 5 to 10 days. They're really critical to make some decisions. Because those opportunities to safely get your money back start going away. They start dropping off, right? 5 days for disclosure, once they're delivered. Lead-based paint, 10 days once it's delivered. And these are calendar days, business days. And this one's business days. I wish they would just unify that. But some are calendars, some are business, so 5 business days could be 10 calendar days depending on the holidays and weekends, right?
Yeah.
So you just need to be aware. And whose responsibility is it to be aware of these timing things? Yours as a buyer's agent. Is it the principal brokers? No. Can we help guide you? Yes. Is the TC departments? No. It's yours. Now, will we do things to try? We have some technology changes coming up first of the year that we can actually add some calendar triggers and things like that. But those are not perfect. You are responsible for knowing your time frames for your client. No one else is. But who could it affect? The entire company. Right. If you don't understand that, right? And this is the stuff to be intimidated by. It's just to be aware of, and it's no big deal. Just be aware. But tell your client, look, we got 5 days to use this if you want to change your mind. Read those disclosures and let's just do this. Let's get your inspections as fast as possible so that we stay within all of these confines, right? Don't wait. And going back to what we've talked about the last 2 weeks, don't wait until the day of the last day of inspection to try and address this. It's too late. You run the risk of all those things closing. Right? Yes?
This is all great stuff for your presentations to really get that client loyalty, which is so difficult these days, is talk about those time frames and that you are there to protect them and make sure they're aware of them and can utilize them if they need to get out. And, it just makes you sound like you're really going to protect them, which you are. So it's great to know up front and tell them up front.
Well, thank you for saying that, because where do you really earn your money? Is it putting it in the MLS?
No.
Come on, let's be real. right? Anyone can price a home, anyone can send it out through homes.com or Zillow or, no offense.
Right.
Anything, that's not hard to get the exposure, that's easy. Just putting in the RMLS gets you 95% of your exposure.
Yeah.
And a sign gets another, whatever, percent. And then if you do other ancillary things, it gets you a whole bunch more. So where does your value come in? Knowing this stuff.
Yeah.
This is your real value. This is the job.
Yeah.
This is the career. It's not MLS data entry. That isn't it. I'm sorry. It's part of it. Hire someone else to do it for you. Learn this. Read through it. Because go back to kind of piling onto that, when I do my listing presentations, oftentimes I'll pull out things like this and say, okay, I just want to make you aware, because not everybody sees this stuff. You have this, you have this, you have that. Don't be ignorant to this, right? And if they can see that you're going to protect them, that's very valuable. So to be able to kind of talk some of this through with your buyer, or as you're trying to win a listing, and here's a listing agreement, here's how it means, and hey, my value, and I tell people this in listing appointments all the time, just like I said, it is not hard to put in the MLS. The MLS does 90% of the work for us for marketing. That's not where the value for me comes in. The value for me is understanding the paperwork and the documents and how to protect you. That's my value. And I say that, and people are like, well, that's a different take. Because what are they getting from other people? They're getting the big flowery, whatever. And some people like that. I'm just not. Mine is kind of this approach. I will protect you. That's how I come across. So anyway, just food for thought. Everybody's different, but that's what I do. So thank you, Wendy, for the comment. If buyer does not receive the statement from seller before, buyer may waive the right of revocation only in writing. So you can only waive that 5 days in writing. Seller authorizes seller's agent firm to receive buyer's notice of revocation, if any, on seller's behalf. So I want to get down to seller representation. I was hoping to get past the FERP today, but doggone it. Seller representations. This is a section in the offer where you as a buyer are checking on behalf of the seller their representations based upon what you know. As a listing agent, if you receive an offer, you think you might want to read through this and make sure that the representations are accurate. If they're not, maybe counter for clarification. Yeah. So as a buyer side, though, I'm acknowledging what I know about the seller. The seller's representing these things that I'm aware of, right? And they go. It talks about that connected to a public sewer or on-site sewage system or public water, private well, or other surface springs, cisterns, etc. On-site sewage system would include what do I want to call it here? Cesspool, sorry. And then you're representing on behalf of the seller. They have no knowledge of hazardous substance on or about the property. Let me go back to line 219, number 14. Seller representation subject to other written disclosures made by seller as part of this transaction. Seller makes the following representation to buyer. So these things are accurate until modified when I get the other disclosures and other addendums, right? So there's an assumption these are accurate unless modified, right? So the seller is acknowledging they don't have any information about hazardous material. If they have had knowledge, they better put out disclosures, because you're warranting you have no knowledge. But if you do, you better tell them. So seller has knows of no material defects in or about the property. Again, that stands unless you modify it, whatever's modified in disclosures. And the list goes on here. No notice of liens, no notice of governmental agencies relating to the property, no material discrepancies with lines of possessions and use, such as existing fences, hedges, landscaping, etc. Seller keeps their property fully insured through closing. Seller agrees to, why, even if they own it outright, they still need to keep it fully insured. If you don't own it outright and you got a loan, it's going to be insured by default, right? Right. Seller agrees to promptly notify buyer if, prior to closing, the seller receives actual notice of any event or condition that could result in making a previously disclosed material information relating to property substantially misleading or incorrect. So with this is a catch-all. The seller's agreeing. So again, are you buy side or sell side? Put on the correct hat in your head for both. Excuse me. That if the seller becomes aware of something material about the property that wasn't previously known, you have to tell them. How many sellers will say, I don't want to tell them that?
Yeah.
All the time. Why? I don't want to scare them. Well, do you want to scare them away, or do you want to deal with a lawsuit? Right? I mean, you can't hide this. Just tell them. You just tell them. So, you know what I mean? So, if as a seller you become aware of material information that a buyer should be aware of, you just need to tell them. even after all the disclosures submitted and everything. Roof starts leaking, tell them, roof's leaking, we fixed it. Just tell them. I love 238 and 242. We're gonna, I guess, kind of wind up on this. This is our get out of jail free card. Buyer acknowledges that the above representations are not warranties regarding condition of the property and are not a substitute for or in lieu of buyer's own responsibility to conduct a thorough and complete independent investigation. Inspection, right? An investigation. Including the use of professionals where appropriate regarding all material matters bearing on the condition of the property, its value, and its suitability for buyer's limited use or intended use. Intended use. Neither buyers nor sellers agents shall be responsible for conducting any inspection or investigation of any aspects of the property. So you're off the hook unless you do what? Start doing it, right? So when people call me, I'll get the calls all the time. People say, well, I'm trying to tell my client, you know, here, we're trying to make this decision about this aspect of the inspection. I will say this just to make the point. What do you mean we? It's not your call. Don't act like it is. You're guiding them, making them aware of it, and making sure they're making decisions, but it's their decision, and you can't start making, if you're perceived as helping them make decisions too much, it kind of falls back on you. Well, you told me I should. It's a fine line you got to be careful with, right? And it's not like you're abandoning him and say, look, here's what we know, what would you like to do? Well, I don't know, what do you think? I said, well, I know what I would do, it's my home, but it's not my home. Here's the pluses, the pluses and minuses, here's these reports, here's that, here's some things to think about. You know, how do you feel about it? So I'll guide him through it, but I won't say, well, here's what I would do. Do this. I don't do that. Because now who owns that?
Yeah.
I do, right? But you can make them feel comfortable about making the decision. You're just helping guiding them to their decision. Make sense? And I think we're over time here. Yeah, we're about 11 minutes over time. Gee, we made it through in 6 weeks. 5 pages. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next week. If you haven't registered, please let us know. Cash drawers up here. Thank you.
All my stuff is over here if anybody wants to borrow.
My whole arms, my elbows. I didn't crochet. I think all I need is one. I need to start to know about my schedule. Yeah, mine is bumped in my dog.